Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. I want to talk to you about the complications that you are going to be faced with as you receive this new idea of a different system during these days and in these times. In fact, the new system and its greatness will be based upon your decision that this is your choice and you're willing to make it happen. You see, I understand, ladies and gentlemen, that it is going to be very complicated because, and I want to give you a little scenario of what it's like so you can see at least what's going on with you, even though you might not be aware of it. And that is this. I'm speaking to you in English, and English is our language. It's our national tongue. If we wake up tomorrow morning and all the means of communication, whether it's written, oral, visual, whatever, it's in Chinese. Now, the Chinese use their language to do the same thing that we Americans do with ours, to communicate with one another. And yet, while each of our languages says the same thing to our respective groups and causes us to respond just alike, if we switch things around, we would be totally lost. We've lived in a world that has denied any effort whatsoever to live peacefully, to live prosperously, to live joyously. We have never ever encountered anywhere on earth where that happens. Now, it might have been introduced at a time, but it didn't take but a little time for the ways of men to overcome anything other than the ways of men. And so I come back to you today to tell you again to look around, and I'm telling you in a language that I know you don't understand, because I'm talking to you about peace, I'm talking to you about prosperity, I'm talking to you about joy, and you don't even believe it can happen. Those of you who say it could don't think other people would support it, and that's your reason for not supporting it. But the reality of it is that you people have not accepted this because you don't know anything about it. And I say this to you in a way that is evident that I'm confident that I'm proper, quiet, because I am just like you. I never heard of this. For some strange reason, I always dreamed of it. I always hoped for it. And I hope that you did and are doing likewise. Because the day and the time has come for this system to change. And when I say this system, I'm not talking about American system. I'm talking about the system of men. You see, the system of men is always shortcoming. Always shortcoming. It's always leaving some sheep unattended and not caring about whether they are living or dead. You just keep right on trucking. That's the way of man. Why should I go back and look for a sheep I told them still? Now, that's the system of man. I want you to understand this all over the world. Translate this language into something that you can understand. All over the world, we have government of men. Men who are prejudiced, men who are biased, men who are, you name it, and that's what they are. And they all help to shape and form the rules and regulations that dictate your lives. And for some it's good, and they are the supporters of what's happening. And there are some who might work a little less, and some it just hurt. And everybody can put up with it. That's all we know. You just don't want to be at the bottom. You'll do mostly anything to be at the top. But the top has its own problems. But there's one way. There's a way called love. There's a way that's called doing to others as you'd have others to do unto you. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. There's a way that says that you were made, created, and developed and evolved from God. God. And you're not cheap. You're not ignorant. You're not stupid. You are a child of the Most High. You are a child of God. But here's what makes you a child of God. You want what God wants. You want what God wants. God wants a fantastic earth. and you've been touched by that spirit, and it's alive in you, and you know it's true. And this earth must change. In China, people must live the way they've always dreamed they would. In Africa, people must live like they've always dreamed they would. In Russia, in other parts of Egypt, wherever people exist, South America, North America, people must live like they always dreamed they would. And it's so simple, because it is the way that was designed from the beginning for men to live on this planet. It was designed by the Creator. You didn't bring anything, you were just put here. Given all the faculties that you would need to play a role in the creation and manifestation of all that exists. You were given that in your creation. But you were given something to work with. It's the earth. Whatever you need, it's in the earth, or it's on the earth, or it's in the air. And that gift that God has given you can bring it all together and create whatever we want. Together, we are the body of God. Individually, we're just parts. All parts of God to do wondrous works. But that work must be done in the body. The whole body working for the preservation, the cultivation, and the manifestation here on earth, that all men, all children, all old folk, everybody can have peace amongst themselves. Justice exists. That can be prosperous because everybody having their own thing to do that's connected with the fulfillment of it all. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to you about changing the world and making it God's world. When people look at it, they say, God touched that. And you know who God used? God used us. The Bible tells us, whether you believe it or not, it still says that when corruption came up to heaven, it was kicked out. It didn't overcome heaven. It was kicked out. Now we here on earth are living totally immersed in corruption. But those of us who are led by God are responsible to take care of God's business. And that involves kicking corruption out and redoing the whole thing with love. Now, I'm asking you to consider a new world. Just consider it. I know you cannot accept it at this time. But go back and you will find that for the past 33 years that I have spoken about this new world. And my conversation hasn't changed. I'm just as committed. I'm sorry that I had to wait until I was 63 years old to be bold enough to stand before you and tell you that all of us are living under the authority of men, corrupted men, corrupted men. And anything that they do is going to be corrupted. Why? Because they are corrupted. And in order for there to be the things that we all aspire, we got to not try men. We got to try the power that made us. We got to try the power that made everything. That's what we got to do. And you see, when we work with that power, we understand that that power is not about any outside force other than all that is. And it is totally committed to every part as that part is willing to receive. And you and I, we're it. We're all that there is. And that's all that is needed. We will change the world. Bye-bye.